Welcome to Lesson 03 of Migration Mastery, the one most teams wish they'd taken seriously. Most failed migrations skip the inventory step. They open iptables, L03 rules, and start translating. 3 weeks later, they find 200 rules across 47 servers, plus custom matches buried in bash scripts nobody documented. So before you translate a single rule, you audit 6 dimensions: rules, scripts, persistence, dependencies, custom code, and external automation. Miss one, and it becomes a production incident. So here's the shape of the lesson. 4 skills, 1 deliverable, an inventory document that tells you, with real numbers, what's actually in scope. You'll learn what to count across those 6 dimensions, how to discover it with a 30-line bash script that runs safely in production, how to classify each rule from trivial to custom, and finally who owns what. Because every rule needs a name next to it, even if the script's been running untouched since 2013. Now, the 6 dimensions. Rules are the obvious one, what iptables-save spits out. But scripts wrap those rules, and if you miss them, your firewall vanishes on reboot. Persistence is where saved configs live, and when 2 sources disagree, they fight. Dependencies, ipsets, contract helpers are the silent prerequisites. Custom code, kernel modules, wrappers, those have no NFT equivalent and need a rewrite. And external orchestration, Ansible, Terraform, miss those, and the next deploy overwrites everything you just migrated. So here's the script that captures all 6 dimensions in about 30 lines of bash. It grabs the host name and OS, counts v4 and v6 rules separately, hunts for any script that mentions IP tables under init.d, local bin, and cron, figures out which persistence mechanism is actually winning, and counts ipsets. 1 CSV row per host. Run it across the fleet with Ansible or PDSH, concatenate the output, and your inventory spreadsheet writes its own first column. Once you have the inventory, every rule gets sorted into one of 4 buckets. Roughly 75% are trivial. Standard accept and drop on a port, 5 seconds per rule. Iptables translate handles them. 15% are standard. They translate, but multi-port or contract matches deserve a refactor into sets and maps. 8% are complex. ipset references, custom chains, rate limit hashing, 20 minutes each, senior engineer only, and about 2% are custom. XT, kernel modules, GeoIP, scripts that parse iptables-save. Those need redesign. Don't promise dates on those yet. So here's what that inventory actually looks like on disk. 10 columns, non-negotiable, host name, OS version, role, rule count, script count, persist method, owner, the complexity breakdown as TSCX, migration status, and a notes field. Look at the DB master row. rel 7.9 blocked EOL. That single field tells you the migration is gated on an OS upgrade, not on NFtables at all. And legacy VPN flagged high risk with GeoIP and ipset. That's your 2%. Without the owner column, none of this gets approved. Spreadsheet or markdown doesn't matter. The schema is what matters. That owner column from the previous slide, here's why it carries so much weight. Every rule falls into one of 3 buckets. Category A is the easy one. Active team, tech lead signs off, 1 week. Category B is where you lose time. The service still exists, but nobody's touched the firewall in years. Budget 2 weeks just to surface an owner and confirm the rule is still needed. Category C is the orphans. No owner. Original author long gone. 4 weeks, and you've got 3 options. Test removal in staging, escalate to architecture, or migrate as is with a risk note. Pick one, document it, move on. So step back for a second and ask why we're spending this much energy on inventory at all. 3 reasons, and they compound. First, you can't size what you can't see. 3 days of counting beats 3/4 of slipped commitments every time. Second, the landmines. custom kernel matches, GeoEP, ipset references. They surface here on a calm Tuesday, or they detonate at 2 a.m. during cutover. And third, ownership. Approvals stall when nobody knows who owns a rule, and inventory is the one phase that forces the question while there's still time to answer it. So here's the cheat sheet. One-liners grouped by the 3 dimensions we keep coming back to: rules and state on the left, scripts and persistence in the middle, dependencies and external pieces on the right. Don't try to memorize these. Drop them into a shell script, fan it out across the fleet, and let the output land in your inventory CSV. The point isn't elegance, it's that every row here represents one landmine you've now accounted for instead of discovered at cutover. Now it's your turn. 3 drills, about 2 hours total, and the deliverable is a real inventory. CSV with your server's actual data, not a template. Start small. Run the script on 5 representative boxes, then hand-classify 20 rules so the effort math becomes concrete, then chase down owners for 10 rules. That last one is the hardest. If you can't find an owner in 30 minutes, stop looking. That rule is category C, and the count itself is the signal you bring to the kickoff meeting. Before you run those drills, let me save you the 5 mistakes I see every single audit. 1. Counting rules instead of classifying them. 300 trivials and 50 customs both report as 350. But they're a 1-day job versus a 6-week job. 2. Sampling. The bad rule is always on the server you didn't check. 3. Skipping persistence detection. You'll translate cleanly, then watch iptables-save restore the legacy config on the next reboot. 4. Missing the CI/CD layer, because the next Ansible run will happily wipe your migration. And 5. No ownership column, which turns deploy day into a stalled approval thread. Each one has a fix. Print this slide. And that's lesson 3. 6 dimensions counted, rules classified by intent, ownership mapped to a human, and inventory.csv sitting on disk, ready to drive every decision that follows. In Lesson 4, we go deep on the translation table. Every iptables construct mapped to its exact iptables equivalent. DNAT, contract, multiport, ipset into sets. The real mechanics, not a cheat sheet. Bring your inventory. See you there.